And welcome to the Ride With Us podcast, part 2 with Bill Pierce. We're excited to hear many more stories from Bill today. Something real significant happens in 1971 that you were a part of. And we just celebrated recently 50 years of the release of the movie Junior Bonner that was filmed here in Prescott. And you have some very colorful stories around filming that movie here in town back in 1971.
Right. I was appointed by Governor Castro to be on the Governor's Motion Picture Development Commission. Films are a tremendous asset to a state.
Sure.
They come in, they spend a lot of money. They don't require more schools. They don't require more roads. They don't require more sewer and water or infrastructure. So we were really out to get movies.
Yes.
And I got roughly 5 here in Prescott.
Okay.
I got a call from the director, and Bill said, I want to send you a script. It's about a rodeo. And I said, well, that's kind of unique because I'm chairman of the rodeo. And I think he knew that. And he said, they're looking at Ruidoso, but they will look at Prescott. But New Mexico is really pushing hard.
Right.
So he sent me the script. I read the script. I made notes on every location that I thought would match the film. And I get a call from Jim Pratt, who was production manager, and he said, can I bring Sam Peckinpah over to look at what and we had communicated. And I told him I had it pretty well set out. And so he brought Peckinpah over, and I was meet him at the Prescottonian at 9:00. I knock on the door. Jim quietly lets me in. And this guy's laying on a bed with a water glass, which I later learned was Martell brandy at 9:00 in the morning. So 2 other guys are standing against the wall. Jim's standing against the wall. I'm just standing in the door. And I stood there and I finally said, I don't know what this deal is. I'd love to have this movie, but I got more things to do than stand here and watch some guy laying in bed drinking what I later learned was drinking something. He jumped up and said, I'm going with him and all the rest of you. And he had an expression for what he called them, and I'm going with him. Well, I put him in my Porsche and we drove around and I showed him all the locations, and we ended up getting the movie. So I spent the next 10 weeks literally out of my office day to day to day to day, and many times night, working with them because I was so sure it would come out as a realistic rodeo film.
Right.
We allowed the film of the stunt guys to go right after our contestants.
Okay.
And of course, that did 2 things. Contestants were in favor of it. They were getting to see Steve McQueen in the chutes, talking to him, because he's back there rubbing his bull rope and or stretching on his bronc saddle. And so then everybody in the stands, we had the announcer announcing them.
Okay.
But we had to have them entered. Those stunt guys were actually entered in the rodeo.
Oh, they were.
So that we could get by any problem with PRCA.
Right.
And so, and most of them had rodeoed before.
Sure.
And,
Stunts. They were probably stuntmen, and they were also PRCA cowboys, Professional Rodeo Cowboy Association. Yep.
But wanting to do these stunt scenes.
Right.
So that was a big attraction, was the fact that they went right after. We didn't do them later. We did, if we had a calf roping, we did our calf roping, then we right behind it, we had their calf roping.
Okay.
And we did the team roping.
Right.
They were in the wild cow milking.
Right.
We had wild cow milking that year. And
I don't think my listeners know what wild cow milking is.
Oh, that is where you own the ground, you rope a cow that is fresh.
Mama cow that's
Mama
fresh,
cow
meaning
that's
they're
fresh,
producing
meaning
milk.
Producing milk. And you have a Coke bottle. Excuse me. The header ropes to pull it up, supposed to hold it while the other person reaches for the teat
Right.
and get milk in it, and then race to a finish line, and whoever got there first won. Well, we had Steve and Robert Preston enter.
Steve McQueen was entered.
Steve and Robert Preston, they both actually participated. There was no stunt in that deal.
Okay.
And the Preston kept dropping the bottle, and McQueen kept losing the cow, and they're cussing at each other. And then Preston's dog got in there.
I remember seeing this in the movie.
In the movie, and who let that damn dog in there? But that was Preston's dog.
Running around the arena while these guys are trying to do the wild cow milking. Barking.
And,
yeah.
It got in accidentally. It wasn't supposed to.
Right.
But somebody over at the horse trailer untied him, and he's going to foul Preston. So he's in the arena chasing. It's a funny scene.
Oh, I love that scene. Yeah.
So then the whole theme was McQueen had been thrown off of this bull called Sunshine and was hurt pretty bad in the rodeo before Prescott.
Okay.
So as you see him coming in, he's taping himself up.
Yep.
And then he goes to Ben Johnson, and Ben talks to me, because I was drawing the bulls, about making sure that McQueen got Sunshine. And I didn't get paid, but it was going to be fun. This was a movie.
Right.
And so he did get drawn. So we had a black bull, Bramer, big Bramer bull.
Right.
So tame, my 9-year-old daughter rode him around the arena just about every day. This being in the summer, of course, she was out of school, and she was a horse lover. So I would haul her horse over every morning, and she'd ride all around, and all the actors and everybody knew Melissa, and all of the crew did.
Right.
And so this guy says, "You want to ride the bull?" And of course, she had no fear. She was my second boy. And sure. So she gets on that bull and rides him around the arena.
Oh, that's great.
So anyway, that was what McQueen sat on. And if you see him in the chute with that bull, he spurred it. And of course, the bull's going to jump if you spur it.
Sure.
Okay. Then we went in the evening to get the opening ride and the final ride.
Sure.
To get the opening ride, there was about 5 guys that rode a Mexican fighting bull, and they Sam taped him, filmed him, and then he looked at the edit and decided which one would go in the opening scene.
Sure.
He picked my future son-in-law, Chuck Olson.
Okay.
He was 17 years of age and had been riding bulls in junior rodeo. And he got on his ride and he did what was called a suicide rep. That is supposed to not let loose immediately. You're supposed to have some action till it finally breaks loose.
Yeah.
And
so I was going to explain that a little bit. A suicide wrap on a bull rope, for you out there that aren't familiar. Bill, aren't you wrapping around each finger, right? I mean, normally you go into a loop and then you just wrap your whole hand. In this case, they're wrapping, I mean, and with the rosin, with the sticky substance they're putting on there, it really is something that's not going to come out easily.
And around the waist, the wrist.
Oh, okay. So after they do all that, then around the wrist.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. Okay.
Yeah. It's just crazy kid. Like I say, he later married my daughter, but they were just dating at the time. So when he did that and his came out, you'll see 3 clowns trying to get him off because he hung up.
Right.
And he only weighed about 130 pounds.
Right.
He's being slung out.
Right.
Just perpendicular to that bull.
Right.
And that bull's trying to get him off. And you'll see 3 clowns. 2 are dressed in clown outfit. 1 had a straw hat on.
Okay.
And that was me.
You were in there bullfighting.
I went in there to get him off because I knew if he got killed, I'd have to put up with that daughter crying for the rest of her life. Oh, my
gosh.
So
I did not know that you jumped in there to help with that.
You watch that scene again.
Okay.
And
wow.
I didn't actually do it. The clowns got to him. But I was there yelling and yelling at him to let loose, Chucky, let loose.
Right.
And, wiggle your hands, get out of there.
Yeah. Scary moment.
So that did end up, even though there were like 7 other, one of Linda was a shepherd, daughter of Chuck Shepherd, great friend of mine, call me son, and went to a lot of ropings with him. Excuse me.
Yeah, take a little drink there. Yeah. I want to make sure I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with Chuck Shepherd, because he was one of the greats that came from Prescott that was a world champion, as you know. And Linda, John's wife, that was his daughter, right? And he was the foreman for many years at the K4 Ranch.
Right.
Yeah.
He actually worked the horses.
Okay.
And because, they had that famous horse that had strung through.
With the Arizona Quarter Horse Association, it was a stud.
Well, Bob was chairman of the Arizona or the United States Quarter Horse Association. Bob Kekeffer was.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the story of the bull ride. And then the actual bull ride in the rodeo was done by a stuntman.
Yes.
And so they paid, and Peckinpah was over there filming while Chucky was being this way, and he's yelling, "Don't stop it, don't stop it, don't stop it," talking about the filming. He wanted it to keep getting filmed, even though this kid's about to get, busted up.
Right.
And fortunately he didn't. But anyway, when you come in and do what they call the close-ups,
yes,
for after the rodeo is over or after any filming is over, you come in and do a close-up, and you get, for example, Chuck was riding a former bucking horse for
Chuck
a pickup.
Chuck Shepherd.
Yeah.
He was riding a horse that had been a bucking bronc. Now he was riding it as a pickup man, helping cowboys get off their horses. Really?
So he put that horse in the arena, in the chute, for Steve to get on.
Gotcha.
And there again, the horse was just calm as he could be, and we're all standing there watching. And Steve spurred him, and that horse just remembered.
He went back.
He remembered the old days when I got spurred like hell, and I don't want any more of this. And Steve's grabbing the deal, and guys are picking him up. And so anyway, after the rodeo, we started the close-ups, and it had rained. I mean, rained and rained, and we had nothing but mud.
Okay.
And trying to associate the rodeo with the close-ups, there's no dust.
Right.
It's just, you read, we had the ability to see the film and then look at what a close-up, and it was awful.
Okay.
So Sam's over there pouting like crazy, sitting under an umbrella. It had stopped raining. We plowed. I had tractor go and dig as deep as it could.
Sure.
And we couldn't get down below the mud. So I had a good friend named Okie Eisberg. Okie owned Easy Transmit.
Easy Transmix.
Very well-to-do gentleman.
Okay.
But one of those that drove his own truck and had a stub cigar in his mouth. And he had the gravel pit where we did the opening scene of McQueen going to find his dad's house.
Right. I remember that.
And then we knocked it down.
Right.
Because the Sam asked, what are they going to do with that? And I asked Okie, and he said, I'm going to knock it down. Well, that made it perfect for the film. And so I called Okie and I said, Okie, I need dust. I won't repeat what his response was on dust. I said, Okie, under all of that gravel that you have, you could remove the top, and inside is dust.
Right.
I didn't hear yes or nay, but about an hour later, here comes 3 trucks. You could see the dust trailing behind them.
Right.
And they come in, and Okie says, where do you want it? He was driving the first truck. I said, you see that guy over there in that umbrella? I said, get as close as you can without killing him, because we want to finish the film. And so he dumped it, and we spread it, and you can't tell the difference. And so Sam came over to me before the film was over, before they left, and he put his arm around me. He said, Bill, I appreciate everything you've done, some nice words. But he said, I've never asked for dust and gotten dust. I said, you've never filmed at Prescott before. So that's what you need to think about, is you can get everything you want in Prescott.
Right. Yeah.
So there was another thing in the close-ups, the grandstands were empty. So if you film back watching a bull ride, you're not going to see any people.
Right.
So Sam's going, what do you think we can do? And I said, I got an idea. I went down to Vine Brothers and bought 2 24-inch color TVs. In those days, they were in big cabinets.
Right.
I got a roll of tickets. I advertised in the paper, if you come out, I'll give you a ticket to draw against a color TV. So we did the first day. We filled the grandstand.
Really?
And because they wanted to watch. And in my invite, I said, you're going to be seeing the actors again.
Sure.
And without any contestants this time. And you're going to be watching how a real movie is made. And then the next day we filled it up too. So
gave away 2 TVs.
2 TVs filled the grandstand.
I love it. So there's a scene in there with his horse trailer. Of course, he had a Cadillac, right, with a 2-horse trailer behind it.
Single horse.
Single horse, excuse me. But what horse did you put in that trailer for the movie? I thought there was a story there with the horse in there.
Put a plastic horse in there. He had a real horse in 2 or 3 times, but for the traveling, we were going through that encephalitis.
Okay.
And all of the going up and down the road and whatever. There was a horse on top of a Western wear store down on Whiskey Row.
Okay.
And we took that horse off and put him in that horse trailer. That horse trailer belonged to Jim Geiler. Jim was a ophthalmologist here in town.
Yes.
And an avid roper. He was very much into rodeo.
Right.
And so we used that trailer. And Jim later sold it. I tried to get it back.
Yeah.
I got the Cadillac back.
Yes.
I know where it is.
Yes.
And we unfortunately couldn't get an agreement with the guy to bring it up for the parade.
Right.
But it's still around. What happened is after the rodeo, because of the palace not charging, we didn't pay for one thing except the house where Steve's mom was in.
Okay.
We paid them $2,000. They allowed us to brown it by spraying it black and looking old.
Right.
They left all their furniture in it.
Okay.
They moved in with a daughter, and that was their house, and they just turned it over to us. The only thing that we did do was in the fight scene, we took the real glass out and put candy glass in it when Steve knocked his brother through that window.
There's some great fight scenes in there, Bill. I love the one in the Palace Bar. I assume you were around there when they did that.
I was there every minute. And it was, yes, it took a week to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there all actors in that?
No.
Or there were locals?
Well, the actors were in there. Steve was in there.
Sure. But you had a lot
Joe
of
Don
people.
Baker, Ben Johnson was in there.
Okay.
What's his name is the bartender. That's one of the things at my age I'm starting to remember or lose names, but
you do a pretty good job here. But were there locals, Prescottonians in the?
And they were paid $15 a day.
Okay.
By the production company.
All right.
It got so hot that we had to order a cooling unit that belonged to John Wayne.
Really?
And it came over, we put it in the alley and put a big duck in the back door because July, and with all those people in there, we were afraid we were going to get some heat stroke. So
wow,
we brought that over.
And piped it into the Palace Bar.
Mm-hmm, right. Because the Palace didn't have air conditioning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a great movie. And if you haven't watched Junior Bonner, I would highly recommend it. It's a great film, but it really gives you a lot of this context of the history of the rodeo and all the scenes around Prescott. You'll should recognize most every scene And it's pretty amazing that you're telling me, other than one situation, everybody just donated their location for the film. They wanted to help out.
Right. To take after Steve's dad gets on the horse with him over on Whiskey Row, and they ride off. And then there's a scene of going down an alley to go to the train station.
Yes.
Well, there was the scene of the stuntman getting hung on a clothesline and whatever. Well, most of the people that lived there had storage units on the other side of the alley.
Okay.
And they had electricity going out there. I get a call at 10 o'clock night after that scene was done by a friend of mine named Bob Earl. Bob was the body shop manager for Lamb Cholet.
Okay.
And he said, Bill, are they going to film some more down the alley? And I said, no, why? He said, well, we don't mind being in the dark tonight, but we're kind of afraid of our refrigerator and freezer that's down there. And
oh, no.
They didn't put our electric wire back up.
Oh, no.
Well, I had it back up in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's how that company would work. They had their own electricians.
Sure. Yeah.
Jim Pratt, I got this alley, blah, 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 blah. It's on its way. I mean, they worked 24 hours a day. So did I several times.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So Peckinpah was a pretty colorful character, interesting to work with, I understand.
I kind of set my tone with him at that first meeting,
right,
that I was not someone who was in awe of him. I had not seen any of his previous films until later. He had just finished making The Wild Bunch, and I got Claude Klein to open the old, old theater over on Cortez.
Okay.
He brought The Wild Bunch.
Okay.
And everybody watched it, and it was, it was the first time they had these electric packets. When people got shot, the blood would spurt out and everything.
Wow.
Then that scene where all the horses fall down.
Yes.
And down into the river. So going out, Sam put his arm around the mother of my children and said, well, Sylvie, how did you like it? She said, well, quite frankly, I'm a Mary Poppins person. Sam went, Sylvia. And she said, yes, Sam, that's bloodthirsty.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Westerns weren't her thing. Well, I just want to say thank you. It doesn't seem like enough to say just thank you for all that you've done for the rodeo. You've been around it for decades and really helped us in 1966 when many folks were ready to give it up. And we know that would have been a big mistake now. So I appreciate your willingness to go out there and pass the hat, as we say, and raise the money to make sure that we had a rodeo in 1967. And your work around Junior Bonner and the movie there, I'd recommend everybody go check that movie out if you haven't seen it, because it's a great tribute to our rodeo in Prescott, Arizona.
You might want to get Gumball Rally.
Gumball Rally.
Gumball Rally.
Okay.
That was a road race from New York to Long Beach.
Okay.
The opening scene is in New York. What it is, it's a group of wealthy people that wherever you are and you hear the word gumball, you have to go to a warehouse where you keep your fast cars and start the road race.
Okay.
Everything is legal except an airplane. You can do anything you want to do to get across country.
Okay.
And it is a hilarious movie. And I play a cop trying to catch these fast cars. We had a Ferrari. We had a big Mercedes. We had Porsches. We had a Rolls Royce. We had a Cobra, a real Shelby Cobra. And we had a motorcycle, and we did everything else here and up on I-40.
Okay.
And then they ended up in Long Beach.
All right.
Well, I'm doing all the chasing here.
Okay.
And I'm in a Matador, a Nash Matador that would do 88 miles an hour flat out. So we built a billboard out just on the deep well.
Okay.
On the east side of 89 going north toward Chino. We block off everybody at the airport.
Okay.
Supposedly. I have every off-duty deputy and policeman serving security.
Sure.
And so I'm behind this billboard. And when this Ferrari comes by, I'm supposed to come out and try to catch him.
Okay.
And the Ferrari actually is going 160 miles an hour.
Holy cow.
And so as I start out, I come up and there's this little Ford car sitting coming down the road. They had told them to drive on through, and these two ladies stopped.
Oh, no.
And I did this and went off in the ditch.
Oh, my gosh.
And, of course, Chuck Bell is hollering from the helicopter, what blank is going on? And I said, we got two idiots that didn't make it through, so we had to redo it.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I ended up, you could see in the film, the speedometer of the Ferrari is 160. Mine is 88. And it just...
Yeah, you're not going to catch him.
No. Then we had a scene on Miller Valley Road where we blew up a firecracker building, supposedly. The Red Devil firework building.
Oh, my God.
And so this truck was one of the trucks in the race, and he hit something, and his gas tank is leaking, and he comes, and the gas catches on fire, so then he ends up in the building, and the building then blows up.
Okay.
With firecrackers.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm over here with, I never forget the guy's name, Rice, who was doing the control board on doing the explosions.
Right.
And Chuck Bell, who did Tootie and the Bean. I remember that movie where they drove a Volkswagen from the top of one building to another. He was a stuntman, and he became the director of this film. And he said, I don't like the amount of explosion. Do any more fireworks? And I said, no. He looked at me and he said, where can we get fireworks? I said, Nogales. I go to the airport, get in my airplane, I fly to Nogales, fireworks, fly back.
In your airplane?
In my airplane. And during that time, the fire department and police held that site just like it was. Put those fireworks in, and if you watch the movie, you're going to see the first day, boom, and the next day, boom. I mean, I brought back so much fireworks that it blew the stew out of that building.
Oh, my God.
It was a building they were going to demolish anyway. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was fun time.
Gumball Rally.
Gumball Rally.
Filmed in Prescott, Arizona.
Made in Prescott, Arizona.
That's great. I love it. Well, Bill, I appreciate you being on today and appreciate your time. Glad you're doing well. Bill's also an esteemed, legendary member of our 1888 Buckle Club, and we're so proud to have you in there to continue to pass on the tradition to our younger
And
folks.
my thanks for the invitation, and my thanks for the honorary chairman during the celebration of Junior Bonner. I really appreciated that. That meant so much.
Yeah. Well, good.
I appreciate you as a friend, Greg.
Well, I do too, Bill. You mean a lot to me.
A fellow Christian.
Yeah, that's right. Brothers in Christ. But thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for all you've done for the rodeo. And thanks for being here with us on the Ride With Us podcast. That's all we have for this episode. Thanks for listening in. This is your host, Greg Mingarelli, signing off. Thank you.